Good evening, everybody. Or good morning, good afternoon. Welcome back to the Bundesliga Show. We are here once more to review another interesting weekend's worth of Bundesliga football. Really looking forward to getting into the show tonight. Got some great games to reflect on and review. Joined as per by partner in crime, Mark. How are you, sir? How's your weekend been?
Not bad at all. Yeah, we had a really nice warm weekend over in this part of the world. So yeah, hopefully the worst of the winter's over, and obviously football is kicking off, isn't it now? It's really kind of, heating up in Germany, just about everywhere, really. European football. Obviously, your boys are still in there as well, aren't they, Rory, in that part of the world?
Indeed.
So yeah, it's been good to catch quite a bit of Bundesliga this weekend, and looking forward to talking about it as well.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah, good weekend of footy. Yeah, watched the Saturday top spiel and managed to catch yeah bits of my boys win both games. We're going to talk about a little bit this evening. So yeah, sit back, relax, and enjoy whether you're watching us on YouTube or via an audio platform. Just before we get straight into the action, just the usual odds and bods of admin. If you're watching on YouTube, please do leave us a like on this video and share your thoughts as well as subscribing to the channel. Again, if you're listening to us from an audio platform point of view, whether it's Spotify or Apple Podcasts or any others, please do leave us a rating and a review. That'd be fantastic. Just checking in with Left Footed. Thank you for saying hi. Yeah, Frankfurt looking solid with with a good win. Yeah, again against close rivals Freiburg. Absolutely agree. Bremen with a win. Wow, for Wolfsburg. Well, best of luck next time. Indeed, yes. I mean, certainly some games that we're going to focus very closely on, pal. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the show along with us and everyone else that is watching. So yeah, we're going to start off. We're going to talk about some of those big results across the Bundesrepublik, of course, especially those that have had a real impact again on the relegation race. However, as per probably most shows and podcasts and the like that cover the Bundesliga, there is a certain game that we have to cover first, the Klassiker, which delivered a really entertaining game for us, Mark. So we're going to concentrate on that first, and then we're going to walk our way through some other huge results and give some great attention to that as well. Some people get frustrated with this name, don't they? I think it was even mentioned on Thursday prediction show by one of our viewers that it's a name that strikes opinion across particularly the Bundesrepublik. Whether that's the right title, and that some people feel is not really a classic fixture. However, as it's classed it, Bayern Dortmund, it was first versus second in the league with huge connotations for any form of title race. Dortmund needing to win to keep their season alive, at least from a silverware chasing point of view, and try and reduce the gap to 5 points. However, of course, we all know that Bayern did deliver the win, the striking blow in the title race to go 11 points clear, and ultimately cull any chances of that. I think first of all, at the start of the match, top spiel, Saturday night football. One thing I took from it straight away, Mark, was we were talking about it on Thursday. I thought the atmosphere and the fan enthusiasm in general would be quite poor, or not poor, but unenthusiastic and maybe not so up for it. But I thought the stadium, Signal Iduna Park, was right up for it. I thought the fans were excellent from the start. The yellow wall. I thought I could see that reflective of the players. I was like, I think this could be a good game, and Dortmund might actually turn up. So I was impressed in that respect straight from the outset. Obviously, if we go, going into the hooks and the crooks of the match, there are a couple of, things to pick out in terms of player selection, and which we can talk about in a minute as well. But the game itself, yeah, couple of chances for Bayern early on, who settled pretty well. But it was Dortmund who took that shock lead in a sense. A nice free kick from Svensson, who had a good game, picked out that man, the returning Schlotterbeck, to glance home. Really nice header for 1-0. Again, I suppose another major headline from the half was the injury to Emre Can, seemingly slipping twice on the advertising boards just off the pitch, which is really. He's out for the season as well now, which is a huge blow for Dortmund in from an experience point of view, and they're light on centre halves as it is. So yeah, and then some interesting points there, but yeah, going into the first half or going into the second half, then Bayern did rock up and change the setting and the scenario of the match. And what did you take and run us through those second half interesting and key points?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as you say, the first half was really Dortmund's, wasn't it? I thought Dortmund were the better side in the first half. And it was that man, the man for the big game, really, Nico Schlotterbeck, as you say, who got that really good header and obviously ran into the crowd as well, which you don't see that often in Germany, which was great to see, you see that more in England, as I tend to find, when players kind of just lose it and run into the crowd. But that was a great sign to see. As you say, the atmosphere at the beginning with the whole pyro and everything was awesome when they came out onto the pitch. And yeah, it was Dortmund's half, and you were thinking, okay, what have you got, Bayern? And unfortunately for the Bundesliga title race, and I think Joshua Kimmich did come out and basically say that it's ours, effectively, in the post-match interview, which was very typically arrogant of a Bayern player, to be honest. But let's be honest, who could doubt him, considering that they're now 11 points clear? But I mean, it really took them until the second half to come out. I mean, they had a few half chances in the first half. I thought Elise, as he often does, looked pretty lively. But obviously, it came from a Harry Kane equaliser who was just in the absolute perfect position for the Elise knockdown, wasn't it? So it was it was Gnabry.
Gnabry.
My bad. Yeah. But it was a really nice move, actually, to be honest, the equaliser. At first, you're screaming offside. Surely there's got to be an offside in there, because it looked as though there were 3 Bayern players well ahead. But when you looked at the replay, it was just a perfectly timed run from Gnabry, who took the ball really well, headed it down, and Harry Kane, as he always is, was in the right place to scuff home. Then, obviously, the kind of big talking point, really, the game was the penalty, really, wasn't it? And it was hero turned zero Schlotterbeck who gave it away in the end. But for me, I actually thought it was quite soft on this occasion. I felt as though even the replay, it kind of, his leg did come across, but it was awfully light in my eyes. And I think Kovac was particularly disappointed with that decision. Harry Kane, though, didn't give a damn. It was just a little bit too high for Kobel, who got 2 good hands on it, but I don't think you could really expect him to save it, because it was very hard, and it was just a little bit. It was one of those rising penalties, wasn't it, that just got high enough to sneak in. He's not been quite as reliable from the spot of late either, has he? I think he has missed a couple this season and almost missed another one there, but ultimately that was the lead. But then maybe some would argue the goal of the match, really, from the BVB, with a really nice equaliser through that man Daniel Svensson. And it was a really nice ball across, wasn't it? And Svensson just with a really deft touch at the far post, he almost looked shocked when he'd scored it, because obviously he doesn't get many goals, really, Svensson, but this was a really nice finish and absolute scenes. You could see the beer cups being thrown in the yellow wall. They thought they got a point to just about keep them in a potential title race, which you would probably say would have been a deserved point at that point, really. I think it had been a good game, but relatively even game. But obviously Bayern, as they often do, had the last laugh. And for my prediction, it was perfect as well, this one. And it was that man. It was Joshua Kimmich with a wonderful finish after they couldn't quite get clear, could they, Dortmund? And it was that man, Kimmich, who slashed in a delightful finish in front of the Bayern fans to give them what was one of the best Klassikers in recent times as well. I thought it was a really good game, a great advert for the Bundesliga. But once again, as it often is, it's Bayern who deliver the key blow. Obviously, Kovac was a little bit disappointed and rueful in his post-match interview where he said, you know, when you can sign an 80 million player every season, it's hard to keep up with them. But I mean, yeah, that is a fair point. But at the end of the day, one thing nobody can deny is that Bayern's last 2 or 3 transfer windows have been very, very good. They've signed barely any rubbish at all. Obviously, the 2 key signings really have been Olise and Diaz, really, most people would say. Despite obviously the poor form of Musiala, who got criticised actually in the media. I think it was by Hamann, yeah. Hamann criticised him and said he's not anywhere near his best. But let's be honest, he was out for so long. He took that bad injury in the Club World Cup. I think we've got to go a little bit easy on him. I agree that he's not anywhere near his best. And I guess Germans are a little bit anxious that he will get closer to his best with the World Cup in the summer. But I still think he will. I think by the end of the season, he'll be back on form, you know, to play in those big games, the back end of the season. But at the moment, it's correct that Leonard Carl is definitely looking much stronger in that number 10 position at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of get why Didi Hamann saying that, but there seems to be a bit of panic across maybe German football pundits, because there's obviously the worry about, you know, if we're going away from kind of going off topic a little bit, but Nick Woltemade is obviously having a tough time in Newcastle. There's been talk about that, with Nagelsmann and co. Nagelsmann's come out and said that you know, a lot of the regular starting, you know, players might not actually get a chance. The number 9 question mark as well. Who's gonna do that role? Kai Havertz has been, you know, obviously having trouble still injury wise. You know, Musiala and Carl's had a breakout, but he's had now a drop down in levels. Musiala's trying to get back up to those levels. So, you know, Wirtz is gradually getting better with Liverpool, but still not overly stand out. So maybe there is just a bit of worry, and these kind of shouts are to do with that. But yeah,
it's a good point. Yeah, I think it's just to add a bit more on that point. It is true. I think I've spoken to a few Germans about it, and they are absolutely worried at the minute. I mean, there's also been concern expressed to why so many of the best German players go to the Premier League, which seems to be a league that doesn't necessarily fully suit the German style. We've seen a lot of German players kind of struggle over there, and often the players that do the best from the Bundesliga are the players that aren't really that. The players from the Bundesliga that do the best in the Premier League are ones that you wouldn't imagine very often. You know, I mean, take a look at someone like Anton Stach, who's done really, really well at Leeds. And even Nemecha as well, who'd had a rough last season at Wolfsburg, but he's been really good for Leeds as well. And there's some other players who, but unfortunately for Germany, a lot of these players aren't German, really. And I think obviously Stach is, and he's going to have a great chance of starting at the World Cup. But as you say, there's been a lot of German players who've had rough seasons. Obviously, Füllkrug is another one who did nothing at West Ham. I don't know how he's doing at AC Milan, but there's definitely a level of concern there in the Bundesrepublik about their proud national team. And obviously, they've had an absolutely wretched run of tournaments for the last 8 years, really. And there is a lot of hope they can come good. And I think this time last year, there was optimism with the form of Wirtz, with the form of Woltemade. But obviously, neither of them have really set the Premier League alight. So definitely, I think what you're saying, Rory, is very correct there.
Yeah, well, we'll watch you with great interest when we get further across the season, won't we, when the selection comes to mind. But yeah, for this game, like you say, the second half was turned around or turned on its head by an impressive Bayern resurgence. You know, Kane and the like, very much at the heart of that. Kimmich is a man born for the big moments. Third time he scored against Dortmund. All 3 of them have been match-winning strikes as well, so he knows how to do it in the big occasion, doesn't he? And yeah, you know, and like you said, he's come out and said, you know, the title's ours, we won't let that slip. And you kind of trusted to say it, don't you? You kind of, that's what Bayern do. But yeah, big win for them. Title race effectively over. Dortmund now just playing for second place, and have a tricky run in, but obviously they're only going to be playing once a week, so they should, they should still probably secure second place, barring any massive drop-offs. We will see. Dortmund fans, you have to let us know what you think of the season so far. But yeah, so wanted to start off with that. There's some other huge games and results that we wanted to talk about as well. And yeah, we're moving on to, as Left Footed mentioned in the chat, Wolfsburg losing again. Just outclassed on Sunday afternoon stroll, really, for VfB Stuttgart. Absolutely, doing a job of Wolfsburg in the first half and really having it sewn up. And by half time, obviously, Stuttgart now moving into joint third place with the Hoffenheim result, which again we'll talk about. And obviously, Wolfsburg just in a terrible place now in the league. Bottom two. The Werder result, again, one we'll talk about as, obviously move the dial a little bit. And yeah, they were coming up against a confident team. It was the 100th Bundesliga game in charge of Stuttgart for Sebastian Hoeneß, which is obviously a great celebration for him. And the VfB, just rocking up and just being really professional. You probably want to focus more on the what Wolfsburg are doing wrong rather than, because this was just very much straightforward, excellent attacking play from Stuttgart. The first goal, great play from Furyk on down the left-hand flank. Gundav gets the ball into the box and does what he does. A nice counter-attacking goal leads to Leveling getting on the end of another Furyk cross for 2-0, just completely unattended at the back post. Leveling again for the third, just before half-time with a lovely strike, making it 3-0. And, the game is done. Daniel Bauer was making some changes at half-time, and sure, Wolfsburg kind of half stayed in the match a little bit. There was, to be fair, a big moment just before half-time because Lovro Meyer got completely played through on goal out of nowhere. If he scores that, maybe there's a chance, but still, you wouldn't have backed them. Mark, I mean, as a VfB supporter, I loved it. Obviously, winning 4-0, cracking on, excellent performance. I could revel in this as much as I want, but from seeing it, parts of it live, because I was out a little bit on Sunday, and then watching it again, highlights to prepare for the show, just Wolfsburg they looked so tentative. They looked so nervous. They were defending, even when they were defending deep, it was too easy for the likes of Furyk and Leveling to get crosses in and the strikers to get their shots off. Obviously, then when they were trying to play a little bit higher, they were easily hit on the counter-attack. The running and I loathe to say this because you don't like saying it about professional players, but it looks lazy. That for that second goal, you can see that Leveling is running with all his heart to get to the back post to get that on the end of that Furyk cross. Whereas the Wolfsburg defenders are they see it too late, and you're like, oh, this is going to be a chance. Well, this is already a goal. They are a team that has to somehow turn the dial, and they've got 2 huge home games coming up in the next 3 games against Hamburg and Werder as well. But this really could be, surely it's curtains for Bauer for a start. It might have even happened today. I've not really been across socials that much, but what do you think of it? Obviously, Stuttgart get a 4th goal late on in the match through Nate, who continues to impress. But where do you even start with the Wolves?
Yeah, with regard to Bauer, he has been given a vote of confidence today. Actually, a lot of people thought he was going to get hooked, and myself included. As you say, Rory, after the manner of the performance, with only 10 games to go, you're thinking, my God, this team had done it. I thought Bauer was an absolute cert, but it does seem as though he's going to be given Saturday against the highest foul, which in my eyes is a risk, an unnecessary risk, to be honest, from the VfL. Actually, Hecking was the man that was heavily linked as well. Hecking, obviously, most recently at Bochum, but also of a number of clubs in Germany, the likes of Nuremberg as well. He also coached. He was heavily linked, but it seems as though they've decided to plump for one more game for Bauer. I think a lot of it is to do with the fact that Wolfsburg have already had so much upheaval this season. Obviously, they've got rid of the sporting director. They've already got rid of one manager. So I mean, it seems to be a recurring theme at the VfL these days. It's just not a good period in the history of that club, as far as I'm concerned. Dropping crowds, just a whole laundry list of problems at that club right now. Obviously, Volkswagen itself is not having good numbers as well as a company, which is, they're in the worst phase in a number of years as a company, and that's also been attracting quite a bit of criticism for the investment into the VfL and stuff like that. But anyway, as a team, yeah, they are going to stick with him by the look of it for one more game, barring any kind of unexpected. But for me, that's an unnecessary risk. I would have gone in against Hamburg, which is really a must-win game as far as I'm concerned for them, because they've got a lot of hard games until the end of the season too. And you've got to be looking at the one against Hamburg and the one against Werder as really must-wins in many ways, I would say. And to go in with Daniel Bauer, the beleaguered Bauer, I'm really not sure at all. Yeah, and it's quite funny that the name Bauer translates to farmer as well. Actually,
no way.
Oh yeah. I think his team are playing like farmers at the minute as well. But anyway, I think actually there was also an interesting interview last week after the game against Augsburg. He came out and said, "Look, I want my team to make a few more fouls. I want them to be a bit dirtier and things." And ironically, this game against Stuttgart, the only man to be bought was Daniel Bauer, ironically. And for me, that would have been the perfect note to sign out for the big man. But
yeah,
he has been given another go, which I'm absolutely shocked about, because time is running out. We're into the kind of 10-game countdown, as we normally say now on the Bundesliga show. And as you say, Rory, as you correctly pointed out, they've got those games against Hamburg and Werder in the next three. And for me, minimum 4 points are needed from that just to keep the head above water. But really 2 wins, to be honest, is really needed. And I'm not sure they're going to get it with Bauer in charge. But anyway, as for the team, yeah, it's just a catalyst of problems. It really is. It's just, obviously in this game, we saw the youngster Farrell Hensel come in, who I can't even say I've heard of before this game, to be honest with you. He played on the left wing, was pretty ineffective. Lovro Meyer, who was still waiting to see the very best of, really, since he signed, I think, over 18 months ago now for the club. And he missed the big chance, which could have got them back into it. But let's be honest, I don't think they would have got back into it after that first half showing. Belosian, who's looked okay, didn't have his best game in this one. I feel as though even Grabara has started making mistakes of late. He's not looked at himself. Like, he made one against Leipzig a few weeks ago, which was a real big blow, because that was one of the few times he actually played well in that game. Ericsson is just looking like his legs have literally fallen off him, to be honest with you. There were signs 2 or 3 years ago at Man United, I think, weren't there? And I mean, the Bundesliga can be a fast league, especially in midfield, in transition and things like that. And he just doesn't look like he's got the legs anymore. No. I love him as a player. He's actually one of my favorite players of the last 10, 15 years in general. I think he's had a brilliant career. And the way he came back from the heart attack to go and play for Brentford and then Man United, I thought was brilliant. But his best days are well and truly past it. I actually thought at the time he was a good signing for them as well. I thought this is a really good pickup. But he's not been terrible, but he's just not got the legs. That's the problem. He still has quality on the ball. But it's really not looking good for them right now. It's really not. And particularly going forward, those kind of 3 behind Amura, they just don't seem out of ideas. I mean, Mayer's been poor. Dagim has been poor. Hensel, obviously, coming in for this game, hasn't done much. I mean, why Lindstrom is getting so little game time, I don't know, because he seems to be a player that could maybe provide some quality. But dark times for the VfL. I mean, I'm not sure whether German fans, especially the purists, would really be that sad if they got relegated, to be honest. And I'm pretty sure there would be even some very happy fans. Obviously, on this show, we're very, we try to be as partial as possible, including to the company clubs. But at the minute, from a sporting perspective, it does not look good for the VfL. And for me, I would have got rid of Bauer, but it's going to be probably him for another game. But who would bet against another defeat against the highest foul this weekend?
Indeed, problems afoot for Wolfsburg. Talking of another team in green, who will be slightly more happy with life, are indeed Werder Bremen, who finally win and condemn Heidenheim further to their possible and getting closer to inevitable relegation down to the Zweite Bundesliga. Mark, this was obviously a huge game for both outfits. We know that Werder have been on an awful run, a dismal run, having slipped down the league themselves, yet to win under new head coach Daniel Bauer. Heidenheim, of course, also bottom. When we're trying to predict this on Thursday, we're like, there's nothing to go by because there is no form from any side other than that, spirited performance from Heidenheim against Stuttgart. But this, this was a game that ultimately, you can look at the statistics and, there are some statistics that kind of match up a little bit more evenly, but you look straight to the XG these days, don't you? And shots on target, the big chances. And this was a game that I think reflects well on the score sheet and maybe even slightly more generous to Heidenheim. Bremen were very good for their win. They beat what was in front of them and they needed to do it. And they were goddamn dragged there by best player on field for me, Romano Schmid. No wonder he's getting attention from outside the club and from a transfer perspective, wherever Werder end up, finishing this season. If it's not in relegation places, it will be a large part thanks to him. He was central to everything that they did going forwards in this match. First few chances in the match, I think one fell to Steg, getting on the at the end of the cross. We also had one disallowed goal for almost forgotten about Deman, although that was overturned. It was a really weird game, obviously, for Milosevic as well, I think, because he completely butchered that for Deman because he just completely gets in the way of the Heidenheim goalkeeper, substitute goalkeeper Frank Feller. And so the goal gets chalked off because obviously of intervention in an offside position. Then Milosevic misses an absolute sitter of a chance, which is put on a plate by Schmidt from across, and he slides it somehow from the back post all the way back across goal to miss at the near post. It was quite an incredible miss. It really was.
It was literally one of them where it was literally easier to score, to miss, harder to miss than to score. It really was.
Huge chance. And you're probably thinking at that point, if you're a Werder fan, what do we need to do to score a goal? And in fairness to Heidenheim, at that point, they were starting to slowly build into that, the latter part of the first half. Then again, Romano Schmid somehow failed to score right at the end of the first half, got around the goalkeeper, then hit the post, then the rebound was put into the side netting. And then again, at half time, again, if you're a Werder fan, you must be thinking, what on earth? Like, the footballing gods are condemning us here to certain relegation if we can't score any of these chances. But from, for Milosevic's point of view, from zero to hero, scores a really nice header at the back stick from a Schmidt cross to get them to 1-0 up. They saw that through to have a couple of big chances at the end. Keke Top missing, one in particular. And then you kind of felt like if Werder aren't going to score, Heidenheim will have to do it for them. And so it did happen, an own goal through Behrens, quite unfortunately, to be fair, but that killed the game late on. Huge game. If we start with Werder from a positive point of view, Mark, I've said his name about 10 times. We have to start with him, Schmidt, and who else impressed you in this good display from Werder Bremen?
Yeah, it was very convincing, to be honest. Despite, as you say, the what I tallied up as 3 open nets that they missed in the first half. Yeah, if you
Yeah.
classify the one from Milosevic and then the two from Schmid in the
Mm.
one goal, as you say, the one when he hit the post, when he was round the
Yeah.
keeper, and then the rebound, the keeper was also in no man's land. So technically, you could call that 3 open nets that they missed in that first half. And I think Daniel Thioune was just, it showed. I don't know if what coverage you saw, Rory, but it showed his face, and he was just like, "Is this really happening to me? Really?" Like, because I mean, I think they'd already clocked up like round about over 3 xg just in the first half,
Yeah.
and
Something crazy
that
like
doesn't
that.
include a penalty. And obviously, they had the goal disallowed, so that wouldn't have counted as well.
Mm.
So if you classify that as well, I mean, they were probably close to 4 xg in that first half, which is just insane. I'm not sure I've ever seen higher, to be honest. But yeah, eventually it did come good for them, didn't it? It was that man Milosevic, who probably didn't have his best game, ironically, probably one of his worst games since signing, but he did get the big goal, which
Mm.
ultimately did break down the resilience. There was that one chance as well for Schimmer, who kind of half went round the
Yeah.
goalkeeper, but if that had gone in, I mean, Thioune must have been thinking, what is going on here? But by the way, interesting stat about Thioune as well. It was at the age of 51. It was his first Bundesliga win as well, by the way. He's been
Yeah.
a man who's been on the circuit in the lower leagues of Germany for years, basically. Managed a lot of clubs in the Schweiz, obviously Dusseldorf most recently, but that was his first Bundesliga win.
Mm.
Yeah, as for players that stood out, I think there were quite a few. As you say, Schmid, despite his 2 open nets missed in that double effort, he was just superb in the game. And he was the one that provided the assist as well for the opening goal. I mean, he showed his class. He really did in that game. I think it all finally came good for the team. I think Puertas was better. I think Deman as well, who, as you say, has been completely out of it, really. I think I was glad to see that Shugavara started again after being dropped last week. For me, cluelessly really dropped against Howley. But the team looked a lot better. I think the lineup looked better in this game. Milosevic does look like the best answer to the number 9 for them.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, they've gone with a number of options. They've gone with Kiki Top, they've gone with Gruel, they've gone with Njinma, and no one was performing. So I think Milosevic, even though I heard he's not really an out-and-out number 9 as such, I think he is the best man for that job. So I think Werder will be looking at this lineup, this 4-5-1 in the future. I think it works a lot better. One thing I've got to say about Heidenheim, I mean, I just didn't think they set up right for the game. I think they went very defensive from the off. And for me, they had to win this game too. And I think for as much as we love Frankie Schmidt and for as good as he's been over the last, 19 years now at Heidenheim, I mean, he got it wrong in this game. He really did. I think it was a desperately poor performance, unfortunately, for them. I think he made a mistake going with Christian Conte as a number 9. I think Dingchi just didn't show up at all, really, in this game. I think he should have gone with Schimmer, to be honest. I think Schimmer should have been given the nod as a number 9. And, he's come up with one of the few good moments they've really had in this season. Obviously, he got them a couple of winners, I think, back-to-back. Back in, was it December or late November kind of time? He was the one that looked most likely, but he obviously had the big chance. Say what you want about Schimmer, but he does make chances for himself, and I think he did a lot more than what Conte did. And obviously Dingchi was hooked quite early on, I believe, in the game. It's not worked out for them. And obviously Frankie Schmidt after the game did effectively concede relegation as well. He came out and said it's too much now, we're done for, basically, which is not the best positive kind of but you've got to be honest. Germans are honest as a people. They love to be honest and blunt about stuff. And like, there was no other way of mincing his words about what the plight that Heidenheim are in. They are going down. They're now 8 points clear of even the drift in the playoff spot, and even more a drift of automatic safety. They are going down. It's been 3 great years that I'm sure Heidenheim fans will remember for a long time. But for me, this was truly the last chance saloon for them, and they didn't perform at all in my eyes.
The only thing that is, Frankie Schmidt's words can do is take pressure off the players. maybe, but also just to enjoy 10 more games of Bundesliga football for the fans. But like you say, yeah, he's a direct talking person and coach. And those words ring true to what was a flat performance from the bottom side right now. So yeah, looking troublesome for Heidenheim. I think for Werder, it was a good performance. We talked about it on Thursday and in previous shows. Werder obviously are now entering into a very, important part of their season because the next few games are imminently more winnable. So as much as positive win, great. They're 3 points off like 12th place. It's ridiculously tight. So there are positives in that sense, but also looking ahead, and it's always dangerous to do that. The last 4 or 5 games are much harder than others. I think they finish with the likes of Stuttgart, Augsburg, Hoffenheim and Dortmund on final day. So if you've not taken care of your business by then you're in all sorts of bother still. So yeah, for Werder, there's still a lot of trouble. And there's still a lot of rough seas to take on before there's any kind of talk about being safe. You ultimately beat the team that was directly below you, and it has been the poorest team so far. I've been far from convinced by Werder, obviously throughout the season. I think I had my concerns early on. But this was a good performance, and you can only say that week to week. This was a deserved win, so well done to them, I think. So, yeah. Moving on to another result, which obviously directly influences the relegation race and indeed the race for European football, was St. Pauli again taking down TSG Hoffenheim in a shock 1-0 win on the road. This was a shock for so many reasons, just because, we very briefly talked about it on Thursday, didn't we, about Pauli have done this to Hoffenheim a few times, and maybe are they a bogey team, just kind of playing around with the idea, not necessarily taking it overly serious given the form of the two teams. Hoffenheim being this season so strong at home and Pauli being so poor on the road, the form very much dictated that this wouldn't necessarily be anything but a win for Hoffenheim at the pre-zero arena. But it was anything but. Obviously, from a result point of view, sometimes these games and results come in football where it doesn't make any logical sense, and sometimes teams are just inspired, Mark. And we've a big favorite of ours, since Pauli have been up, in the Bundesliga for the last season and a half, has been their goalkeeper, an outstanding goalkeeper at that, in Vasil, and he really won the day with a spectacular performance, pulling off some outrageous saves. Obviously giving context where Hoffenheim were very much the team on the front foot for large periods of the match, and Pauli saw their opportunity to score right at the end of the first half. A nice cross from Saliakis, finding Pereira Lage at the far post to make it 1-0. But so many other chances up to that point for Hoffenheim. Apologies if you can hear next door neighbour's dog. Does my head in. Stupid things never shut up. Anyhow, saves from Prevail, from Kramaric, and I think particularly from Asllani right at the end. Some excellent saves. The XG obviously revealed that Hoffenheim were far ahead and more likely to have scored more goals. This was one that came out of nowhere, Mark. But the St. Pauli travelling fans and the like must have been absolutely reveling in this, and a fantastic display from a goalkeeper and from a defensive unit as well.
Yeah, I mean, this was truly a massive performance. It really was. I just couldn't believe what I was watching, to be honest, because I caught the first 10, 20 minutes before Pauli scored. the conference, and they had so many chances. Hoffenheim, it looked as they were literally like crowding outside the goal. And as you say, Vasily he's had a lot of good performances over the last 18 months, but this for me was his best one. Like, some of the saves that he made were just top draw, and he just did it, not just the saves, but also the caught crosses and the kind of marshalling of that defense. I mean, they were defending for pretty much, especially the first half. Actually, ironically, the second half, they didn't have as many chances. I think there was only the Kabak one that obviously crashed off the bar, which was a brilliant save. Almost another goal from Kabak. That would have been insane if he got yet another goal. I mean, he's been on fire since the new year, hadn't he? But I mean, this was just a classic smash and grab, backs to the wall win from the St. Pauli. And I mean, those wins sometimes feel the best, really, as a fan, don't they? Especially when you're down at the bottom and you go away to one of the big boys, especially against one of the company clubs who I'm sure that Pauli fans aren't particularly fond of at all. And you go away there and you just, you face a kind of blitz, really, especially in that first half, and you come away with the lead and then see it through. I just think it was also in the circumstances too. I mean, when you're down in a dogfight, in the absolute thick of a dogfight, to win that game is just absolutely superb for them, really. And as you say, every one of those Pauli players deserve credit for the performance. It was the definition of backs to the wall. I think that man Saliakis deserves a lot of credit too, because he's finally really started showing some form in recent weeks. And I mean, he got the assist again in this game. He got another assist against Stuttgart. I think, was it Stuttgart or was it Bremen? But he got another assist as well against one of them. And obviously Pauli are just turning it round now. I mean, they got the win Stuttgart, which was completely unexpected. Then they backed that up with that win over Bremen, and now they've got this win over Hoffenheim. And they don't win many away from home. Like we talked on the show on Thursday that they'd only won one away before this, and that was a similar kind of back to the wall performance at Hamburg, wasn't it? And this is another huge win with a clean sheet. They are just laughing at the moment. Obviously, still in the thick of relegation because a lot of the teams picked up points around them as well. But you're really starting to feel for the first time in a long time that Pauli could stay up at the minute. Because one thing you've got to say about them is that they're not only winning games, but they're beating teams that they shouldn't be beating, really, So I think big credit to them. Huge win. And the relegation race is really starting to get exciting now, isn't it?
Yeah, indeed it is. The way that things are working out, the relegation race is possibly the most exciting thing happening in the league at the moment, which is, for neutral fans, looking in, us as, Bundesliga enthusiasts, it really catches the imagination. Less enthusiastic and less thrilling when your team is involved, which I can relate to very dearly with regards to Stuttgart's involvement in seasons gone by as well. So huge win for Pauli, and damaging for Hoffenheim as well, who remain in third place on goal difference. They wouldn't have certainly banked on that in respect to their chances and chasing European football, Champions League football. Lovely stuff. So they're the games that we really wanted to focus in on, and much like last week, we're going to try this kind of fun new little topic at the end of the show, just very briefly doing some hot takes. Last week, if you missed it, I came up with a couple of statements or questions that I threw over to Mark, kind of themed on some of the other games and what Mark's opinions were on it. This time, the tables are turned. And Mark, I'm led to believe you've come up with a few for me this week.
I have indeed, yeah. So I'm going to start with quite an easy one, so just to get you in the spirit of it. Yeah. So the title race is over now.
Correct. Hot take is correct. Yeah. 11 points lead for Bayern. The game was there to change that scenario, but yeah, Kimmich and co know what they're doing in this position. There's no doubt.
Yeah. Jan Diamonde of RB Leipzig is the best player outside of Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. Just trying to think. I think it's a good hot take. I dare say from a biased point of view that I think Dennis Undav could have something to say about that. Or who else do I think is possibly out there?
Gurasi, maybe.
Well, Girassi on a good day, yeah, but not currently, is he? Um, I'd say a good hot take between him and Undav for me. Really,
Yeah.
outside of that Bayern team, there's not many players that I'd say would fit into a Bayern team,
Mm.
or are on that level right now. Yeah, yeah, I'd
Yeah.
say him or Diomande for me. Yeah.
Yeah, going to one we just mentioned, but on a hot take kind of point of view, but St. Pauli's win at Hoffenheim was the biggest shock of the season.
Ooh, biggest shock of the season. Certainly, certainly up there. Yeah, Pauli beating Stuttgart. Who else? I mean, if Heidenheim had beaten Stuttgart last weekend, then that probably would have
Yeah,
been
yeah,
the
true.
hot, the biggest shock of the season.
I think maybe the Augsburg Bayern beating Bayern too
I
was
was about,
borderline.
I was about to say, can we say Augsburg because they weren't in a great place?
Mm,
Beating Bayern, I think, was certainly up there. A couple of
mm,
unexpected teams have beaten Leipzig, haven't they? Um,
mm,
but yeah,
mm.
and how Hamburg almost did Bayern, didn't they, as well?
True. Mm,
That probably would have been the big one, I think, if they got over the line. But yeah, I mean, I was so certain. I know we talked about it on Thursday that they get over the line comfortably, Hoffenheim. But like you say, sometimes you get those goalkeeper performances that just stun everyone. I was really pleased because Bastille, he's been under pressure as a goalkeeper. He's been a favourite of ours, but he hasn't been on top form this season
mm,
in
mm,
recent months, especially, and he's made mistakes. But he's got that in him. That's his level.
mm.
So,
Yeah,
uh,
mm,
yeah, one of the shocks of the season for sure.
yeah, definitely. Another one, a little bit controversial, but Leonard Carl is better than Jamal Musiala.
Ooh, controversial one indeed. Can't agree. From what I I'm doing it based on the fact that I've seen Jamal Musiala play more football
Mm,
and uh, take take more games by the scruff of the neck, and win them on his own. Um, Leonard Carl has a real raw ability, and amazing knack for ball intelligence and being in the box, scoring goals as well. Obviously, the age profiles of them are slightly different. Obviously, Carl is such even more of a youngster. Musiala feels like he's been on the block for ages. I would say Musiala for me has a higher ceiling.
mm.
But yeah, that's a good one. What do you think?
Yeah, I would be with you actually. I think on current form, maybe Carl is better, but I think Musiala is probably more of a raw talent overall. I think he's got more to his game, and that kind of unique way he can just pluck his way through a midfield it makes him more of a unique player. I find. I think Carl, there are other players similar to him with that style. You know, he likes to hug the wing and kind of cut in. But obviously, he's still a very good player, and he could get even better and more consistent over the next few years. So definitely two very exciting players for the German Mannschaft in recent years. Another interesting one I've got for you here, a team we've not talked about today, but Kwasniok of FC Köln is the most overrated manager in the league.
Krasniok is one of the most.
He's the
Ooh,
most overrated manager in the league.
is the most. Okay.
Mm.
What do I think about this one? I think it's got something to it. I'm just thinking because we've got so many interims
Mm.
in roles this season, is that like the interims are like down
Mm.
here, like
Yeah.
on the floor, bad.
Yeah.
Apart from maybe your man, Baumi.
Mm.
But
True. Mm.
I loved, Kvasniok at the start of the season, particularly. He just felt like one of us. Rocking up in the tricot, and all the kind of like chilled gear. Just felt like someone rocking up on a Saturday, Sunday morning, kind of amateur league vibes. But
now he's proving that he's actually an amateur league manager as well.
Interesting one to say, because Köln are obviously now a team that are on the struggle bus, and he as a head coach hasn't really come into my brain space that much. Maybe because it's gone on, he or Köln have gone under the radar because there's been that many more teams that have been doing so bad, and because Köln started off so well, it's also, their drop-off has been maybe even more significant, I guess. I don't think he's the worst. But I do agree that it's an interesting take to have on it. I also feel like there's so many coaches in the Bundesliga this season that are learning on the job as well.
Yeah.
So there's so many really that are really, that are not experienced at this level. So I'd say he had started off doing a great job, but now I think they're struggling. And tactically, maybe there are some mistakes that he's made from a selection point of view, in game management, maybe some mistakes. Substitutions, the handling of certain players. The Almala situation as well, perhaps. But that's an interesting one. Fair play.
I think the reason why I came up with that one is because, I think early doors, everyone was like raving about him, saying like, is there, as you say, he turned up with his Köln shirt and he almost had like Stefan Baumgart vibes, didn't he? But I think it's badly gone stale for him in my eyes. He's getting the team selection wrong. He's underutilizing Almala, who is absolutely key. I mean, how they can start in so many games on the bench, I really don't know. With that raw skill, it seems a bit odd to me, in truth. So I would say maybe not the worst, but the most overrated or overhyped, I would say, in my eyes. Anyway, just one more for you, Rory, as well. So Bayern will score over 120 goals this season. So just to put it in context, at the moment, they're on 88, which means they need another 32 from the last 10 games to hit the incredible 120 goal mark.
Hot take is one I can get on board with. I think they probably will. Kane's pretty much, blow for blow going with Lewandowski for the goal scoring record, isn't he? The amount of output that they're getting. The only thing that stops them is how far they go in the Champions League, and how much it stretches them as a team. We've seen that they have the ability to drop off and switch off in games. Not that stops them scoring goals, though. So I would concur with your final hot take that Bayern will hit 120 goals this season, and ridiculous numbers. Lovely stuff.
Brilliant. Superb. We hope you enjoyed that. If you enjoy our hot takes and you think, let us know what you think about that. But if not, then don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and all that kind of thing. Don't forget as well that we're not only a podcast, we're not only a YouTube channel, we're also a podcast. So check us out on Spotify and Apple, and also follow us on social media, X, Instagram, and the likes. So thank you very much again, guys, for tuning into this show, and we'll see you again on Thursday for the predictions of next week. So see you then, guys. Ciao, ciao.
Cheers all. Bye.